Hey guys, what's up? GarageKing here, and today I got a special episode for you. We are going to set up a camshaft in a Vanagon Waterboxer engine. This one is a 2.1 liter, but 1.9 is the same, but it is a water-cooled engine. It's not an air-cooled engine, so let's get to it.
Okay, here we're going to check the cam wear. So I just got the old bearings in. Now it's important, you can keep these ones lubed because these ones don't make a difference for the cam if you're checking run out going back and forth this way, but the thrust bearing should be dry because if you have it all oiled up, it can actually take up some play. So max specifications is 0.16 millimeters, and as you can see on here, there we are, 16.16 exactly. That's how much it's moving. So that's the old bearing. So now we're going to put in the new bearing, and you can see I'm just moving it back and forth like this, and we're going to just see how much the new bearings can help correct that. Okay, here we go. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pull this bearing out a little bit. We just take a tiny little screwdriver, just give her a little tug. There we go, you hear a little pop, just like that. And now here's what we were talking about, the thrust surfaces. The other bearing I showed you was straight. These ones, you can see they have a side on them. It's its side that gets worn, and that's why they got to be replaced. You can actually see the dirt in there under there, so we got to clean that out. The rest of the case is good. Okay, I put the new cam bearings in. They're nice, and they're underneath there, but now I have an issue. When I go like this, try to move the cam, I have absolutely no play at all. Now the cam will still turn. I can still turn it, but there's no end play whatsoever. So what I'm going to have to do is take this thrust bearing out and just sand the sides of it down, just so I can get a few thou, just a little bit of play, and I'll show you what I mean. Here's the old thrust bearing. So the old thrust bearing went in there. You can see the sides. There's the side. So they're worn down a bit, and actually you can see the bearing's copper color, so it's really got a lot of wear on it. The silver part is all gone. So what I'm going to have to do is just sand this down a little bit here on each side, just on a piece of emery cloth. I got some emery cloth on my bench there. I know it's all messy, but what I'm going to do is put some emery cloth down, just shake this thing back and forth just to get a little thinner. Put it back in there. I'm going to take a little bit each time just so I can get just a little bit of play, because we don't want it too tight, because if it's too tight, you're just going to burn the bearing out, because then it's too tight and there's no lubrication. It's just going to heat up. You're just going to burn it out. So we need some play. So let's take a close look at this cam. So we can see we have our cam lobes. And if you look right here, you can see they're perfectly flat. There you go, perfectly flat. And then this one has a groove. So if we look there, we can see you got a flat spot there and you got a flat spot there. Now that's where that bearing controls the end play. So when you sand the bearing down a bit, you'll make it a little bit smaller so you can wiggle this back and forth like this when it's in the engine. So that's how the end play is controlled in these camshafts. So once you install your bearings and you put your cam in, if it's too tight, like we saw, then you just sand a little bit off each side, not on the cam, on the bearing, not on the cam. Don't ever sand the cam. You sand a little bit on the bearing, and then what you're doing is you're actually making a little bit of clearance there so the cam can come back and forth.
Okay, so I filed the bearings down a little bit, and just to show you, originally we had 0.016. Now we're not even 10, actually. I think we're close to about 7 if we're wiggling it back and forth, 0.07 of a millimeter. So we're kind of somewhere in the middle, maybe 0.06, somewhere like that. So we're perfect, because the way the original bearings were, they were way too tight and it would have burnt the cam out. So that's a no-no. So make sure you file them and measure it properly. So that's it. If you've enjoyed my video, please subscribe, ring that bell, and if you have any comments, leave them below. I answer all comments.